calling it an act of war. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo pointing the finger at Iran as President Trump warns of increased sanctions on the regime following the attacks on the Saudi oil facilities. Blake Burman at the White House to pick up the story from there. Blake.
Connell, President Trump said earlier today that new sanctions against Iran could be coming within the next 48 hours or so, along with a definitive response from the United States as it relates to the attacks on Saudi oil facilities. As you said today, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, is in Saudi Arabia right now and on his way over there. He spoke with reporters and continued to put the blame squarely on Iran and described the attacks as a, quote, act of war. When the president was asked about Pompeo's comments, the president cautioned against intervention in the Middle East, but also warned that nothing tops U.S. military might.
How did going into the Middle East, how did that work out? And how did going into Iraq work out? You know, there's plenty of time to do some dastardly things. It's very easy to start, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I think we have a lot of good capital. If we have to do something, we'll do it without hesitation.
Standing next to the president there in that video is Richard O'Brien, the new national security advisor that the president announced earlier this morning to replace John Bolton, who was kicked off the team here at the White House last week. O'Brien had once led hostage negotiations for the State Department when he was standing alongside the president. He was asked what advice he's given to the president regarding Saudi Arabia and gave this response right here. Listen.
Yeah, so we're looking at those issues now and getting briefed up, and I think Secretary Pompeo is in Saudi Arabia now or is just coming home. And any advice I give the president will be something I give him confidentially, but we're monitoring that situation closely.
Officials in Saudi Arabia today also held a press conference in which they put the blame, for the most part, on these attacks on Iran, saying that they do need to have more evidence as to where exactly these cruise missiles and these drones originated from, but they say Iran sponsored these attacks. Connell?
All right, Blake Burman on the North Lawn. Melissa.
Joining us now is Democratic Congressman John Garamendi from California. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee. And, sir, we appreciate that you tend to come on after you get a lot of these briefings on these situations because we get some immediate insight into what lawmakers may know. What can you tell us about what you've heard, and do you feel like it was definitely the Iranians?
What we're hearing is stonewalling from the Department of Defense. We've asked for the briefings, we've asked for specific information, but frankly, even meetings today, that's not been forthcoming. The information we have is basically the same information you have, and frankly, that is totally unacceptable. We have been very, very clear here that we're not about to go to war with Iran without an authorization of war. And so if the president intends to do a kinetic, that is a military strike against Iran, he has to come to the Congress first and seek the authority of Congress to do that.
You know, if I could just ask you for a second, because it doesn't sound like he really wants to do that. I mean, I know that we've heard Lindsey Graham sound very hawkish.
Yeah.
When we've heard the president talk about it, he's made it sound more like, you know, Iran buys weapons and they don't buy it on credit. Saudi Arabia buys weapons and they don't do it on credit. They pay in cash. He made it sound like it was kind of on them to be the ones to do it. So I don't know that he's do you get the sense that he's rushing into wanting to do something?
Well, you just did a soundbite of the president, and the answer is clear. He is not anxious to go to war in the area, and I'm thankful for that. But should he decide that that is where he wants to go, then come to the Congress and seek the permission of Congress as the Constitution requires. And the other point is the one that I think you just made, and that is that Saudi Arabia has purchased billions of dollars of very high-end weapons from the United States and from others. If this attack is an act of war, it's not an act of war against the United States. It's an act of war between Iran and Saudi Arabia. They've been at each other's throats now for years and years. Previously, it was always a proxy war somewhere, most recently in Yemen.
Yeah. Now, can I ask you, you know, with your experience on the Armed Services Committee, were you surprised that they weren't, that they weren't protecting these oil fields better, given how much technology they have. I mean, I've been to visit myself. They were always seemed to be prepared for various attacks from around outside. They always thought Iran would try and come and attack the oil fields. So are you surprised that this happened?
I'm very, very surprised. We do know that they had certain defense facilities, probably defense from rockets coming in from the south, from Yemen. If they never assumed that there would be something coming in from Iran directly or indirectly from Iran, that's a serious mistake. I would guess that the air defense minister for Saudi Arabia is going to have a new job right away, or probably already does. Beyond that, I think there's a very serious concern about our military bases in the area. We have 70,000 soldiers. We have an entire fleet. We have airplanes of all kinds at 3-4 bases in that area. And are we protecting? Are we protecting our assets? There's some indication that if they're able to sneak these, Iran or somebody else is able to sneak these drones and cruise missiles into Saudi Arabia, are they equally able to seek to hit our own facilities in the region? Big question, one that I asked the Air Force today, and we're going to continue to
Did they have an
Department
answer for that, or they just said, we'll get back to you?
No, they said, oh, no problem, we're okay. And I'm going, well,
I see.
We're going to get into it in more depth than that.
Okay.
That's not a complete answer.
Okay, well, when you have more, please come back, sir. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.